Hi, I'm Mike Yanessa. Welcome to another episode of Car Stories here on PCTV. I'm in the showroom of my shop, Wheels of Motion, at 525 East High Street. We got a lot of things to talk about tonight, and we're going to start out with some memorabilia. So up here on the counter, I have some stuff different customers have given me and friends. This little collection here is from George Hansen, the guy that works for me, and he was actually at the York US 30 Dragway in this summer, and you can see that there's Grumpy Jenkins's car, there's Bruce Larson's car, and these were photographs from his personal photo album that he gave to me to show on TV. Some really good shots, and that would be 19. He has it written on here. I got to look. 1970. 1970. Check out the hearse cars. Anybody remember that? The big Plymouth with the giant hearse shifter hanging out of the trunk. That was used to promote hearse shifters around the country. And here it is at York in the summer of 1970. Really cool. And George also has a little collection of drag racing rule books. This is 1969. US 30 Dragway. What do we have? Drag Race Association, Saturday night, 1961, 1960, 1970, 71, 72, 1968. I'm going to try to steal that one because I collect things from 1968. So, just stuff that people collect. I mean, it's not just about the cars sometimes, it's about the memorabilia, about the collection. Just like I said, I collect Camaros, Hot Wheels, slot cars, big ones, little ones. I try to limit myself to just Camaros. Once in a while I'll buy a Corvette or something, but that's primarily my collection. I collect magazines. I have from like 1950 all the way up into the late 60s, but I really collect 67, 68, 69, because of the Camaro, which everybody knows that I'm crazy about. Like this, Summer Nationals, 1968 brochure, Don Prudhomme, remember him? The Hot Wheels and Don Prudhomme, the Snake and the Mongoose. Hot Wheels made the model. They were the first, Hot Wheels was the first non-automotive sponsor that drag racing had. And actually, when I was at SEMA, I went to they had a breakfast, and they had Don Prudhomme and Tom McEwen, the Snake and the Mongoose, and they explained how these kids grew up in California, and they just approached Mattel, and Mattel said, okay, we'll sponsor you, and the rest of that's history. But there's Bruce Larson, 1970. These are all George's stuff, too. NHRA yearbooks from 68, 69, and 70. Really cool stuff. And because I moved to this building here on High Street, which was Dame Chevrolet, and before that it was Kaiser Chevrolet, I collect Kaiser memorabilia. And this is something I got for Christmas this year. I have one, but here's another one. It's a real Kaiser metal. You actually drilled holes in the car and put it on the trunk lid. Emblem. And this I've had for quite a while. It's a Kaiser yardstick, and 1967 Chevrolets. Everything that could happen happened in 1967. So, and then this one I just got. This came all the way from Texas. Don't ask me how it wound up in Texas. Can you zoom in on that one? It's a Kaiser Chevrolet key, leather key pouch. I'm going to say 50s. It could be 40s, it could be 60s, but I'm just guessing because of the style of the chain. Later on in the 60s, they had a little pin going through it that you put your keys on. But this wound up all the way in Texas. I happened to see it on eBay, and the price came down to where I could afford it, and I bought it. It's like new, leather keychain. Just really cool stuff. Like I said, if you have a 68 car or 69 car, you have a Mopar, you have a General Motors product, it's fun at the flea markets. Some of this stuff is relatively inexpensive to pick up a couple dollars, and it's neat to read the books and see what was going on the year your car was built. This isn't automotive, but it's Pottstown related. Somebody had given me these postcards. And you can see if Gus can zoom in on them. I'll hold this one up. This one here is the Hill School, way back when. And then if, I don't know, Gus, can you get those there? The old high school, the old hospital. This is the arcade building there in King Street, side of the old Borough Hall. And I looked at that and I went by and that building looks different. Well, some point in time they took these top turrets off and probably put a new roof on it and changed a little bit of the upper structure of the building, but the rest of the building still looks the same. And this is an interesting piece that nobody can tell me about. Maybe one of our viewers knows what this is. I have two of them. They were in the trunk of the '59 Impala. It's a metal plate. In the early '50s, they went to the larger plate like we have now. This is a little bit smaller, so this would date this back to like '52 and older. And don't know what it is. I mean, it's a professionally done plate. It's not homemade. Like I said, I have two of them. And it's just a cool piece of Pottstown history. And I don't know if they gave them out or if they sold them or what, but it's a solid metal plate that says Keystone State, Pottstown, Pennsylvania. So books like this is a book from 1959 on how to paint lacquer. And it tells you all in here how to spray lacquer, how to buff it. Again, the model year car you have, you collect this type of book. This one goes with my '59. And these are things that you can find at Jake's Flea Market or Zern's or Duryea Day, and something neat to pick up and keep it with your car. And a lot of times you read them and find out some good, interesting things that were happening back then. So just a little bit of memorabilia I wanted to share with you. And I wanted to talk a little bit about tonight. A lot of the topics on old cars I always get is, what's my car worth? I do appraisals for old classic cars. Sometimes they're easy, sometimes not so easy. Now is Barrett Jackson and Mecum and all the auctions are on TV. Last week was Mecum. 2 weeks ago was Mecum. This past week was Barrett Jackson. And that helps establish the value of some of these old cars. But I'll caution you on that because Barrett Jackson is a false atmosphere to a sense. There's a lot of rich people in the room that have millions of dollars of disposable income. So if they happen to pay a lot of money for this particular car, it doesn't necessarily mean it's worth it. It just means that they wanted it and they can afford to do it. So we'll keep Barrett Jackson out of the mix here, but Mecum, Atlantic City, the Raleigh Classics, several other the auctions are more realistic. They're normal people that might have a line of credit or have a few dollars that they want to go buy a classic car. So that's one place that some of the trends and prices are established at the auction, on eBay, in Hemmings Motor News. But the important thing is like I said, people come in all the time, what's my car worth? There's not one car that's like another. In other words, if you have a certain model car, the color matters, whether it ever was in an accident matters, whether it was repainted, how it's optioned, was it ever rusty, even though it's fixed, was it ever rusty? There's so many factors, like a lot of people will watch these shows and say, well, my car must be worth $50,000 because that's what they got for one at Mecum. Not so, because the one at Mecum, you don't know. Documentation, I always tell people about that. If you have the original bill of sale, if you have the original protective plate. A lot of people might not know what that is, but that 68 Z28 that I had on the show, here's a nice little book, and this is all documentation with the car. Some of it's reproduced, and some of it's original. This is the original protective plate folder from that car. That's a copy, okay? This is the original sleeve that the owner's manual came in. It's not a reproduction, and that's the original owner's manual. And the protective plate, the reason the protective plate is so rare, and it's like a credit card, that the reason the protective plate is so rare is because if you traded the car into the dealership, they confiscated it. So a lot of them didn't survive. And what it was a warranty card. It had the original owner's name on it, and it had vital information about the car. The engine numbers, the transmission numbers, the rear numbers were all on this card. And so the only way you can get a protective plate today, if it never was traded in at the dealer, and the owner, one owner, second owner, third owner didn't throw it out or leave it in the house. So it's very, very important to get this because, for example, excuse me, a 68 Super Sport or 68, 69 Camaro Z28, you cannot, if the engine's missing or the protective plate's not there, you cannot prove that that's a real Z28. Makes a big difference in the value of the car. So you need that documentation, you need the bill of sale, you need the protective plate, and beware because there is copies out there that look pretty good. So back to the auction scene, you'll hear the cars going through at the auction, you hear numbers matching. One of my arguments with numbers matching, does that mean that someone assembled it to match the numbers? Or was it the actual motor and the actual car transmission that came with the car from the factory? I mean, you could go around the flea markets and buy parts and build a car that's numbers matching, or this actual car is the born with, you'll hear that term, the born with motor, born with transmission. Big difference in value. And a lot of people, they do restamp stuff, they do duplicate stuff, reproduce stuff, and you can have a beautiful car. Today, people's level of perfection is very high. So they like a car that's all perfect, and all the chrome is perfect, and everything is just nice. But a lot of times, that's all reproduction stuff. I'd rather have a car sometimes that has some imperfections that's original. And the auction scene, there's blue chip stock, just like the stock market, and there's regular cars that are subject to trends. So your blue chip stock would be like the Vettes and the Camaros and the Mustangs and the Hemis, and the trends would be station wagons and four-doors and cars that are hot right now. Excuse me. What's hot right now is original paint cars, and old pickup trucks. Old pickup trucks right now, the last year and a half have been going up in price. And there's a whole new appreciation for cars that weren't painted or weren't restored. So again, I get this question asked a lot, how much is my car worth? I'm trying to explain what makes the car worth these numbers. I would say do your homework, check the cars out thoroughly, have a professional look at them, because you're spending $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. You have to make sure that it's real, make sure that it's what you're paying for. And Old Cars Price Guide is a guide, just like it says, of what cars are worth. This is numbers that are brought in from all the cars, and these are updated every 2 months, all the cars that sell at auctions, all the cars that sell privately. But you know, a lot of time when people sell cars privately, the prices aren't truthful. So it does affect these Old Car Price Guides and NADA and Kelley Blue Book. This is really cool at the beginning of this. There's condition 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. 1 is a museum piece that is never driven. Like, there's no ones. I mean, very, very, very few cars are ones. Most really nice cars fall in the 2s. So then when you go back here and look up the price of the car, say we're going to look up, I don't know, just pick one out of here. 75 Nova, number 1 condition, $6,000. Number 2, $4,200. Number 3, $2,700. And then so forth. It'll say deduct 10% for 6-cylinder, add 10% for air conditioning. And it gives you an idea what that car's worth. It's pretty good. It's not gospel, but it's a guide. If you're looking into buying an old car, this is one way you can see what it's worth. And like I said, eBay, Hemmings, Carlisle, what cars sell for. So like I said, it's a popular question. There are people who are looking to buy or they're looking to sell, and they want to establish a value. Street rods, customized cars, they're very hard. And a lot of times they're done to a personal taste. So if I don't like the stripe that's pink on that car, it's going to be a hard car to sell. So just a little bit about that stuff. Atlantic City's coming up next month. We'll be there with a couple cars. It's the 9th, 10th, and 11th at Atlantic City Convention Center. It's the first auction in this area. And I told you Barrett Jackson and Mecum just ended. The prices seem to be strong on some of the really rare cars. I know the old reliable 1962 Impala that Dave Strickler drove and Bill Jenkins tuned sold for $525. So that's $500,000, and to me, that car is well worth it. It's one of a kind. It's one of the most famous race cars ever, and $500,000 is probably what it's worth. So just a little bit on the old car stuff and the memorabilia. Now, let's go back in the shop and see what's happening back there today. Okay, how about this one? When's the last time you saw an all-original 1940 Pontiac? Remember what I was talking about, establishing a value? The customer, exactly. What do you think this is worth? How do you put a value on a 1940 four-door Pontiac, 57,000 miles, original paint? I mean, when we were kids, we'd have walked right by this car. 10, 15 years ago, we'd have probably walked by it. Now, it's like a whole new set of eyes. I mean, you look at these old cars today that we once took for granted, and you look at the design, and you look at the chrome, and you look at the emblems. It's just unbelievable. Check this out. Lift the Pontiac head up, and open the hood. Look at the emblem under here, original. Not a reproduction, not a sticker. That's the original Pontiac Silver Streak. 6s and 8s. This is a 6, 3-speed. Minimal options, just a few. Again, 57,000 miles. And a common problem with the old cars, this one sat for a while. And of course, when they sit, the gas goes bad. And what happens is the methanol today in today's gasoline loosens up all that varnish and stuff on the bottom of the tank. And it's virtually impossible to get rid of. So I recommend, especially cars that have been sitting, is new tank, new fuel pump, rebuild the carburetor, possibly a new fuel line. Now this one, we didn't put a new fuel line, we just blew it with some cleaner and cleaned it out, because you'll fight forever trying to get it's very fine. It's not even like mud. It's almost like the gas is cloudy. You don't even see like chunks. It's very blurry is what it looks like. And that was the ailment that this one had. Believe it or not, could not buy a 1940 Pontiac gas tank. Even got a 40 Chevrolet gas tank and thought I could make it work. No, totally different. So we wound up sending this up to Dick's Radiator Shop right here in Pottstown, and he opened it up and cleaned it, and it was so nice inside that he didn't need to coat it. Sometimes they'll coat it with a material if it's very rusty. So this one's pretty much ready to go. If the rain would stop and the weather would cooperate, I could road test it and give it back to the owner. But again, 1940 Pontiac Silver Streak, all original, 4-door, neat original interior. What's it worth? It's a tough one to put a value on. Hey, I got a car story for you. This 1940 Pontiac, we had a customer come into the shop this week, saw the car. He's from upstate Pennsylvania somewhere. And he said that he remembered a car like this in Tamaqua. They actually towed it one time because it broke down or whatever years ago. And he really liked the car because it is original. Remember I said it's original paint. It don't matter if it has a couple nicks in it. It's just nice the way it is. And I talked to the owner that bought the car. Guess where he bought it? Tamaqua. Now, what are the odds of someone coming in my shop here in Pottstown and just happened to bump in to the car that he remembered that he towed years ago near his hometown? So, great car story. We need more of them. If you got one, make sure you get a hold of me and come tell it on Car Stories. So how about this 1938 Chevy full custom? It is unbelievable. Leather interior, tilt wheel, air conditioning, real gold-plated knobs and switches in the car. The gentleman that was building this car passed away. A good friend of mine, Al Damiano. A lot of guys knew him out in the Pottstown area. Was always at the YMCA. and he was building this car for about 15 years, and Al passed away a few months ago, and now it's here. We got it running, we got it serviced, and we're going to sell it. And it's a shame that he never got a chance to use it, but what a beautiful 1938 Chevrolet. Well, we got a lot of Chevys tonight, and a Pontiac. 1948 Chevrolet Fleetline Aero sedan. This is one of my projects. It needed some tender loving care, brakes, tune-up, again, gas tank, fuel pump, carburetor. Chrome's all good on it, paint's decent, needs some interior work. Now, we were talking earlier about values and about what old cars are worth. Now, this is a very rare car because it's a fastback. It's an Aero sedan. They made a 4-door and a 2-door. But get this, in 1948, they made 211,000 of these cars, this body style, right here. They made like 75,000 4-doors and 50,000 2-doors. So in terms of numbers, this was the #1 selling car in 1948, the Aero sedan Fleetline. But yet today, I would tell you it's rare because you just don't see them. So, you know, 200, almost 250,000 cars, and you got to do that too sometimes when you're establishing value. How many were made? In this case, it's a little bit defies the odds. There was a lot of them made, but there's not a lot of them left today. This is a very solid car. Underneath is rust-free. 52,000 original miles on it. It was came from Maryland. That's what the title said. But it just needs a little tender loving care, and we'll be back on the road this summer. Now, everybody out there, what do you think this car weighs? Look at that chrome bumper. Look at that, look at this bar. The hood itself. Oh, it has an inside hood release, I forgot. The hood is heavy. The fenders are real metal. You can sit on them, you can walk on them. What do you think it weighs? How many guessed 4,000 pounds? Well, you'd be wrong, because it weighs not even 3,200. Okay, it's like 31 and change. This car, in its day, was loaded. It has a radio, it has a heater, has a defroster, has an inside hood release, has one backup light. It has the little wings over top the wing windows so the water doesn't come in when you open them up. It has window washers, bumper guards front and back. And so on. It's a loaded car for 1948. Real metal, 3,100 pounds. Now, put that perspective today. A new car. A new car is made of plastic, aluminum, very thin metal, and it weighs more than this. I mean, you know, an average car today, like a new Camaro weighs 3,800 pounds. A Camaro, and it's not even a big car. One of the reasons why standard equipment or optional equipment back then, I just told you. Now, air conditioning, power steering, power brakes, power windows, tilt wheel, 9-speaker stereo, 7 body computers, 6 airbags, wiring, structural inside the new cars today, they're made to take a hit. These cars, everybody thinks this is a tank. Everybody thinks this is, you know, will run over a new car. Actually, new cars are made and designed with crumple zones and inner structures to take a hit better than this car. And that's true. If you want to do something, if you had access to the internet, Google crash test 2009 Chevy Malibu against the 1959 Impala. You'll be amazed. So you checked out that crash test on the internet, see? The old cars, even though they're big and solid, they don't take an impact like the new cars. The new cars are very sophisticated, and it's getting worse. I mean, you see the TV ads all the time for cars that back up themselves and park themselves and apply the brake themselves and all these computer modules and relays and gadgets, and guess who gets stuck fixing them? Us here at Wheels of Motion. So, and other shops too. So you not only need to be a grease monkey mechanic, you need to be an electrical engineer nowadays and computer programmer, because we got computers on cars, we got MP3, we got all these sophisticated electronics, and when they're in a collision, sometimes it takes time to get them straightened out. It takes time to order the parts. The best story I could tell you guys is we had a Cadillac in here, front end collision, very minor, hit a deer, had the collision work done in like a week. Well, when this 2015 Cadillac was in a front end collision, it locks the seat belts, and you have to order new seat belts. Nobody stocks them. They're 14 days away. They're made to order. So it's not like the old days when there was 2 or 3 different colors and they stocked them at Dame Chevrolet or at Tyson Pontiac. No, you got to call General Motors, order them. They're 14 days away, and then you have to replace the computer, and then that computer has to be relearned to that vehicle. So even though it looks like a bumper and a grill, the electronics in cars today is just overwhelming. And these were the old cars that were simple. This car, like I said, for its time was loaded. It's the Fleetline. This arrow back is what makes it unique today. You just don't see them. And remember I said it had front and rear bumper guards? Well, this bumper guard here, so you can get into the trunk easier, flips down, and there's your trunk. So again, heavy metal, a lot of chrome, but the couple 100 pounds or 1,000 pounds of electronics and airbags and gadgets just aren't there in these old cars like the new ones. So can't wait to cruise this one this summer. It'll be done soon. 1948 Chevy Aero sedan, Fleetline, the top model for the year. It has all the options. All right, so in last month's show, I believe it was, or it might have been the month before, I did a story on this 57 Chevy. The customer spent 25 years building it himself. He had 89 miles on it. It was involved in a front-end collision. The cowl was bent, the doors were out of whack, and as you can see by the frame is severely damaged there. We put it on the frame machine, we pulled the cowl back, we got the doors to fit properly. The cowl and the body of the car are in pretty good shape right now. The frame is what we call diamond, meaning it's not square anymore, it's diamond shaped. It's bent very bad. The A-frame's pushed back. So we're getting a new frame, or used frame, because yes, we could fix this one, but it would take hours to fix it. And all the body mounts on the car actually pushed back, all the bolts. And remember what I was telling you earlier about, we always say these old cars are like tanks, they're going to hit something. This was hit by a RAV4. So, the new cars they are safer, and they do take a heck of an impact compared to the old cars. Okay, so here's the donor frame for that 57 two-door hardtop. And if you watch the video of the 1959 Chevy and the 2009 Malibu, the way that car crinkled, that's an X-frame car. The X-frames came out in 58, and they went all the way to 64. And if you see the way that car was impacted on the side, there's no frame there. It's just sheet metal. Now, this is a box frame. This is a 57 frame. But again, there's no cross members. There's nothing. It's just a big box. The only cross member you got, the front suspension is bolted to. So it's real easy to see when I talked about diamond that if this frame was hit, it's just going to shift. Even though it's old, thick metal, it's not. They weren't designed to take an impact like the new cars today. So here's the donor frame. We're stripping the rear out of it, strip the front suspension, ship it out, and in a few weeks it'll be back on wheels again, and then we can switch the body. Okay, Eastwood, right up on Shoemaker Road here in Pottstown. They have a lot of good stuff, tools and equipment, paint, powder coating, it goes on and on. If you're a car guy or a hobbyist, you got to stop in. Eastwood helps us with car stories here on PCTV. And one of the products that we use a lot of here is this ceramic high temperature engine paint. It's a two-part paint, meaning that it gets locked up. When you buy paint in a spray can, it's a one-part paint, like lacquer. And what that means is that if you took lacquer thinner and rubbed it on lacquer, it will rub the paint off. It's a reversible substrate is the actual term. You want, anytime you paint a car today or you do any work, you want a 2K paint. Eastwood actually has 2K paint in a spray can that you shake it up. Now, of course, you got to use it right away, it'll go bad, but they have 2K paint and engine enamel and other colors. But the reason I wanted to show you this, we like the quarts because out of one quart, you can do 2 engines. And it's actually cheaper to buy this. It's about $40 for the hardener. Well, you buy 3 or 4 spray cans of engine paint today, it's $40 and it's only 1K. Doesn't look as nice. This stuff looks really rich. Big Red's engine, the Rambler Scrambler engine, Jeff's engine, a bunch of guys in the shop, we've done quite a few. And from a value-wise, it's actually cheaper than Spray Bomb, and it's a ceramic coating. So Eastwood, up on Shoemaker Road. They have a lot more than just engine paint, but this is our featured product tonight on Car Stories.